everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Welcome to all my new subscribers. Today I am sharing part 1 of the So News travel capsule wardrobe collection. And so you already saw my plans video. If you did not, I will link that up above where you see I picked all the fabrics that I am making. So today is part 1. Remember, I'm sharing the tops first and then the bottoms and the tote second, but there is an add-on that I'm doing for the collection because the skirt that comes in, that I believe is called the Niagara skirt, didn't come in measurements that would suit my size. So I am not doing the skirt, but I did want a skirt to go with this, so I'll share that because actually that should be coming up on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. And thank you everybody for all your lovely compliments on the So 20 project. I'll pop the picture up here, the Lenox, the cashmere Lenox shirt dress. Thank you everybody for all of your lovely and wonderful compliments. If you missed that video, go back and check that out. I will link that up above here so you can hear my full review of the Lenox shirt dress. So getting into the So News Capsule Studio World Travel Collection. The first item I am going to share is the, I believe it's pronounced Ontaro shell. It's a simple v-neck blouse. And this is what it looks like. Let me hold it up here. And as you can see, it's very simple. That's barely, it's not a cap sleeve that you attach. It's actually, I will say, you're supposed to measure down 8 inches and then that be your sleeve opening. But there's an opportunity to fit this and then see if you need to drop that just a little bit more. And I actually did have to drop mine. I dropped mine down to 11 inches on each side. And I did make some adjustments on this pattern. The sizing for bust goes from it starts at a small, which it says it's measuring at 48.5 inches. And this is finished garment. And the extra large finished garment is a 53.5, and the hip is also a 53.5. So the finished garment measurement, definitely I'm 51, and so in my hip is 52, and so the hip is not as much room, but the bust area I'm fine with that, with those measurements. So what I did in order to make sure that this would be a good fit, I can tell by the look on the model, is not meant to be form-fitting or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I can go for that look, don't mind at all. And so, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough room for my hips, and without grading the pattern, that was the key, without grading the pattern. And I am in, the husband had a pop-up shop today, so we were out vending today, so that's what I have on. So no me made, although my pants, I have on some jogging pants, I did me made. But anyway, so after I did some measurements, and I'll pop in the clips as well, but I did lengthen the bodice by 6 inches because it came off very short. And based on the model, see, I can't really tell her hip line. Let me pop this up again. I can't really tell her hip line or waistline. I'm assuming maybe that's her hip and her waist is up here. I'm just assuming the model is short torso. But this was way too short. Mine needed to be at least what I'm comfortable with, 28 inches, and this was only, I measured with the seam allowance. The seam allowance for this one was 5/8 inch. I believe it came out to like, I'll show it in the clip. Okay, what I'm showing here is that 5/8 inch, and I measured down 5/8 inch from the hem, and I only measured 21.5 inches. That is way too short for me. So I knew I wanted to extend this by at least 7 inches. Because I wanted the hem to be much lower, and this is where I'm approximating where the waistline is, and so this is where I will make that adjustment to lengthen the bodice piece. And so here you can see is where I lengthened it And what I started to do is go ahead on and adjust those side seams and meet everything up. And I'm going here, I'm actually going to go back in very shortly because I didn't like the way I did this, but here I was showing where I was meeting up those side seams, and here's where I made the adjustment. I actually went from the hem up.
So I started
and you can barely tell that there is
a slight
curve in there.
At the top is what I ended
so
up
that
doing.
other line
So
there I did not use. That was the original line that I had drawn. I did not use that. I did want to show how I measured my arm size. So I already know what my arm size measurement is. And so I wanted to make sure that this wouldn't have any gaping or anything, or that it would just fit pretty good. So that is what I did here. And then on this is the Rimmel tank. I'm showing where I raised the back neckline, and I messed that up so much. Like 21.5 inches, and I knew that thing would have been hitting me way too high for my liking. So I went ahead, that's one of the adjustments I made. I went ahead and lengthened it by 6 inches. I did adjust the front facing piece as well. So let me grab the, so when I explain this, you know what I'm saying. I adjusted the facing piece. I also raised the neckline. So the V in the front came down a little bit deeper than I would have liked. So I raised that by 1 inch. And I'll show you that because I don't think I recorded that piece. And so let me show you how the pieces come. So when you tape this together, and that's probably the only con about the So News collection that I have. You all know I despise taping PDF patterns together. I like sending mine to print. So I wish that this here came with the copy shop version, that you get the kind that you can print off, or that if optionally you can send it off to print, because that's what I would have done. But no, I have to tape all of these pattern pieces together. So let me show you this front. Actually on both of the pattern pieces I'll show you. The facing pieces are on the pattern. So you have the bodice piece, and then in the top of it, so you will have to trace this off. I mean, I guess you can cut that out, but I traced it off so I can keep the main piece intact. So here is the front. So you will see here, and like I said, I'll show a quick clip. I did lengthen it by 6 inches, right? And I did not trace this off. So only thing I traced off was the facing piece. So because I knew I wanted the neckline to raise up a little bit, I made the adjustment on the pattern. So let me hold this back up. So what I did was I drew a line from somewhere in the middle of the neckline, and I cut all the way to about right here, and then I cut from this end in and made a hinge, and then I closed this by, what does that say, 1/2 inch. Actually I closed it by 1/2 inch, and when doing that, because the facing piece is on there, it adjusted the facing piece as well, right? So I didn't have to adjust. I did not trace the facing piece off for the front until after I made this adjustment, because I knew this piece was here. So I went ahead on and traced this off after I made the adjustment. Works beautifully. I saw that trick actually, oh my gosh, is it Beverly? No, not Beverly Johnson. Oh my, I cannot remember her name on Craftsy. I'll try to remember to put it here. I may or may not remember. But when watching one of her classes on Craftsy, she talked about if you have facing pieces, if you have to make adjustments to your bodice pieces and you have facing pieces that go on there, make the adjustments first before tracing off all of these pattern pieces, because then that area will adjust, and then all you have to do is trace the adjusted piece. So that's what I did, and that worked out beautifully. I will pop up pictures, and it's only 4 pattern pieces for the Ontaro shell. Super duper easy. And like I said, you can just for the arm, again, like I said, once I tried it on, I did a fit. I knew I had to open up my sleeve a little bit more. And so, and I used, this was the rayon linen I purchased from, oh, I said it in my plans video. I'm sorry, I don't remember where. This either came from Joann's or it came from fabric.com. I think it came from fabric.com. This was a rayon linen. And so very nice. I love the drape of it. And so as you can tell, the front facing piece, it fits beautifully. And I actually switched to a burgundy serger thread, so that's what you see. I did not face it. There was an option to face or not to face. I chose not to face it because I was worried about, because I was going to use a black knit interfacing in here, and I was worried about it looking too stark against this. And I also have white, but again, I was worried about it looking too stark. So I did not face the piece at all. And like I said, it was optional. And so yes, and let me pop up some pictures. You will see, and I see I have a loose thread here, you will see that what I did to allow it to kind of fall nicely over my hips, I went ahead and created side slits, which worked out perfectly. Let me show you here. Here's the side slits I did, and that worked out beautifully. That way it can go nicely over my hips, and I didn't have to worry about it being too tight down there, or tighter than normal. I wanted more ease and room in that area, and I didn't want it to be too close. So yeah, I loved it. Very simple piece to sew up, and I'm so far loving this. Loving the collection so far. And then the second top I did was the second one I did is called the Rimmel tank. So it's an everyday tank. Let me show it to you how it's supposed to fit. So if you can see here, again, it's very loose. It looks like it's meant to be very loose on the body and just kind of fall very nicely. Nothing fitted again, which I was totally fine with, but I was concerned, again, it was too short. So this one I lengthened by 7 inches, and I did that because if I wear, because of the material that I chose, I more than likely every now and again will wear it tucked in, but more likely wear it out. And so when I made the adjustments, you saw the adjustments I made on the Ontaro shell. I shared that. But when I made the adjustment, I made the adjustments on that first, and then when I made the adjustments on this, the thing I forgot to do was go out. I went straight down with my adjustment, and I know better because y'all saw, you know, I know how to do that. And so it is very fitted around my midriff, and so I tucked it in for the pictures I'll be popping up. But the top fit fine. The other adjustment I made was because the back is meant to be as low as the front, and I didn't want that. So and I did not do a muslin, but that's fine. That's fine. So I raised the back neckline. I just drew the curve up and raised that by, I want to say 2.5 inches, but there is, you will see in the picture, there's a little bit of gaping in the top back. Not the end of the world at all, but here it is. And I wore it, the pictures, I quickly took pictures for both of these earlier today because we had to go. But I tucked it in, so that silver you see is just the waistband of those pants, which I made from my block. But what I could have stood to do was just a little bit, taking out a little bit of the gaping in the back of the tank. And so you'll see that in the pictures. But other than that, oh, this is beautiful. Let me hold this up to you. This is a rayon crepe, so very drapey. This I know I got from Joann Fabrics. And so so it is very fitted at the top, which I'm not overly concerned about, but because I wasn't paying attention when I was redoing, when I lengthened it, and then I was measuring out the size, I didn't go at an angle. I went straight down. Duh. And I was not even catching that when I was cutting it out either, or I would have just made that adjustment while I was cutting it out. But that's okay. That is okay. It will drape and have movement in the body soon, because I am well on my way on track. I am definitely back on track. But anyway, so I loved it. So you can use the fabric for self-binding, but I had binding. Let me see here. Will it focus? There we go. I have binding this color in my stash, so that's what I use around the arm side. Okay, let this focus. Around the arm side, around the neck, and around the hem, I use the bias binding. So yeah, and let me tell you, I sewed both of these up in one evening. Yes, it was after work. It took me 3.5 hours. I had already had everything cut, but it took me 3 hours to sew, 3.5 hours to sew both of these up, because I just took my time. And of course, with the binding, you just want to be careful, and I want to make sure the neckline for the shell was good too. So that, I love both of them. Very simple. The tank is only 2 pieces. You're meant to put bra catchers in there. I didn't do that. When I waited till I tried it on and I saw it wasn't moving or slipping, so I just skipped that. But you can do that for the tank. So far so good with this collection. I'm telling you, I can easily see, because next week I'll be showing you the jacket and the pants, right, and the tote. But I can easily see, if you really were getting ready to head out on vacation or a quick work trip, anything like that, very casual trip even, I could see you could do, if you had a week to put together you know, something me made, you could really, I could see you doing this with this collection. But so far so good. Like I said, the bottoms and the tote will be next week Sunday, so stay tuned. But on Wednesday, because you all know I had to do a different skirt to go with it, I will have the review for the Mimi G Simplicity 8959. I'm doing the shorter version out of, I showed this before, but I'll show it again. This is, I got this from fabric.com along with that pink. I remember now. I am doing it out of this corduroy, this wine color corduroy. You know, this is my color palette, if you saw that video. And so with the wooden buttons that I had ordered from Etsy, and so again, that will be coming up on Wednesday, and then Sunday will be the jacket and the pants and the tote, and then that following Wednesday I'll just do a lookbook with different looks and how I would put the different pieces together, because I'm just loving it. Even those, I mean, it just go, the pink in here matches the pink in here exactly. Look at that. I just love how that all looks together. So that is it, everybody. I thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comment box below. And just so you know, I will be going live. I will be going live for Christmas holiday handcrafted gifts. So every week in the month of November, I will be going live on Mondays, and so you'll see me making handbags and other, mostly handbags and wallets, but there will be a couple other things I'll be making in there as well. So stay tuned for that. The sun is shifting. It got extremely bright in here all of a sudden, but thank you everybody so much for tuning in today. I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, stay tuned for Wednesday, and we will see you then. Have a blessed start to your week. Bye.